Hi gang, this is Brandy Devoid, and this is the Black 44 show. And today I'm working on a Pogo the Clown Gacy painting. And if you want to know why I painted this, it's pretty simple. I had a friend who was painting a lot of creepy clowns, and he gave me a whole bunch of canvases to have, and he says, you know, if you paint me this painting, any painting of your choice, I'll give you these free canvases. So I thought, hey, great barter. So I think I'll paint something that is in his style. And I thought of the creepiest clown I could come up with, and that's Gacy. I mean, you can't even... So what I basically do is I like to do what I call sculpting the layers, where I go from dark to light and light to dark, back and forth to kind of fine-tune my image to get some depth. And I started to, kind of go the opposite of what the clown was like. Like he's really brightly colored, and I wanted to make him gray and ominous. So I started with all of my gray tones and my black and whites. I started with the very darkest areas, and I kind of filled them in very fast, and then I added white on top of that. And then after, I decided to bring out the background more. So then I'm using kind of a wet brush technique where it gets a little drippy, but the color flows onto the canvas more. So I have to watch the dripping that happens. You kind of see some of that. I like to mix my black paint with some India ink, some black India ink, because it flows nice and it's really, really super dark. Then I use some dry brush technique over it so I can soften and blend. Dry brush usually is like when you kind of dab the paint and dab it on the canvas, but in this case I use a very soft brush with dry paint, and I just blended it in. Not all clowns are creepy as far as I'm concerned, because when I was in high school I was part of a clown troupe called the Crimson Clowns. And we learned about clowns and how they create their makeup and their ideas. And usually you have your two categories: your white face clowns and your hobo sad clowns. So as you can see here, Gacy, he tends to be a white face clown, which I don't know if his character very much, but it usually insinuates that it's a smart clown that is kind of taken advantage. He's a little bit of a trickster. Not always the case that they're so smart, but they seem to think that they can outsmart the other clowns. Whereas the hobo clown is like, the world is getting me down, and I'm kind of a vagabond type. And I would think that most people would think the vagabond type might be a little more scary, but they're kind of usually a little bit dopey and silly. So that goes back into the history of clowns. You could look that up. I think it's interesting. Another thing that I really like to stress here is it's really good when you're doing a portrait of anything is to have a very clear, large portrait photo before you start as reference. And here, in the case of Gacy, nobody really took a very clean photo. The ones that I found were always slightly blurry, so you can only expect the amount of detail that you can actually see. And this, you can fake it a little bit, you can clean up some of the edges, but you can only go so far. So had I had a better photograph to look at, I probably could capture more of his expression. So I kind of added my own with some kind of wiggly lines and some kind of roughness, splattery kind of effect. If you would like to request me to draw or paint something, please leave a comment or visit me on Facebook and ask me to draw stuff. I will be happy to do that. if I have time to, you can go to my Patreon link, which is right here, and become a tier member, and you can get a prize. How cool is that? Anyways, nice talking to you, and I hope you enjoy my video. Thank you. Bye-bye.